Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, everyone. Welcome to this podcast. It's going to be a very interesting podcast for everyone who asks, I don't have a father, so how can I make it? So I brought you today a very esteemed guest, Mr. Tom, known by TJ Hunter. Welcome, Tom. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Oh, it's great to be here. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome, bro. So, Tom, as people in the manosphere know him, he's Ali, the girl who made that tornado in the internet few months ago about the video. I'm happy in life because I serve my husband, and like everybody gone crazy. So I was watching Ali in one of the videos, and Tom was there, and he was talking about his experience as like growing as a child without a biological father, and he still can do it as a high value man, what we call today. So it was very inspiring, story. And for those people who are listening to me who do not have a masculine figure, it can be like you have a dad, you have a biological dad, but he's away, so you still do not have a strong masculine figure in your life. So how we do it, we're gonna talk about that today. So, Tom, can you please give us a short introduction for people like to know you?
Sure. So I'm Tom Drummond. I'm Ali Drummond's husband. She's also known by Real Femme Sapien. And so, yes, the kind of the way I came on the scene was Ali went viral and she wanted to do a video about adoption. And so I'm not exact. I don't want to like make an advertisement about me, but just a quick introduction. So let's just say, so I'm 50 years old. I'm an officer in the Army. I practice medicine for the Army. We'll just kind of go backwards. I was then enlisted for 16 years. I was a Navy corpsman. And then moving back before that, I was in college. I was a janitor and I worked in an ice factory. So that's kind of a reverse chronological order of where I find myself now. And today's topic, talking about masculinity in the absence of a father. I was adopted. So my father, even though he was not my biologic father, gosh, was he just a wonderful example. So yeah, glad to share that.
You're most welcome, bro. You're most welcome. Okay, so what we're gonna talk about today, we will start by childhood. By childhood, let's say time. Uh, did you recall like when you was a child, like below 15 years old,
Oh
like
yes,
before adulthood? Yeah,
yeah.
can you tell us what happened? How did you develop in that area, in that era?
Yeah, so I shared this on Ali's podcast. I find it to be interesting to share with others to say, hey, look, you don't need necessarily some external massive pressure to make good change. And the story that I shared was I kept getting beat up. Well, not just me, but several of the neighborhood kids kept getting beat up by these bullies that would come in. And so I think I was 12 or 13 years old. And so it was at that time that, my father had some old rusty weights downstairs in the cellar in this old dingy box with moisture and rust and flakes of steel coming off of it. And so I had just made a commitment to myself about age 13 that, hey, look, I am sick and tired of getting beaten up by bullies. So I went down there and I grabbed those weights and I started working out. And so that was like just one of the many small journeys that I would take to becoming more masculine. Now I should preface that to say my father, he always encouraged me to be athletic, to be physically fit. And we talked about this on the other podcast with Hallie as well. I don't know how this would go over in the modern world, but my father actually taught me how to fight from a very young age. And he, of course, always taught me, look,
Your father as a biological father or stepdad?
my adopted father. Yeah, I don't know my biologic parents at all. Never had any contact with them. So
Okay,
everything.
okay. Just for people to understand it fully. Like
I think
that's
that,
what I
yeah,
mean.
that's important. You're right. That is important to, yeah. So everything that
Yeah.
we'll be talking about, or I'll be sharing anyway, is about my adoptive parents because I don't really know anything about the biologic parents. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to, my dad taught me how to fight, and he taught me how to punch, and he also taught me, honor and integrity, and to never utilize the violence to your own gain, but only use it to defend yourself. But it's just I don't see that push for masculinity, and I like Jordan Peterson's take on it, where he says, look, being timid and weak is not a virtue. You have to have the
Yeah.
capacity and the capability of violence and dangerousness, and have it disciplined and not
Mm,
use it. And so
mm.
I mean, my father wouldn't have put it that way, but I think that's what he taught me.
Yeah, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Oh
So
yeah.
I do totally agree. Like there is no virtue in weakness. If
Yes,
you're
yes,
weak, you can't be virtuous because you are weak. So you can't tell me that I have mercy on him. No, he can crush you. You don't have mercy on him. So he's bigger. He's stronger than you. You can't have mercy on someone who's more strong than you. So you have to be strong and dangerous, and you have to know how to tame it down and use it when it's needed. So virtuous men are dangerous men. Virtuous men are dangerous men who control themselves. That's why Beauty and the Beast is so famous. That's why most of female browsing history among the internet is towards pirates, towards
oh yes.
psychopaths, towards criminals, towards yeah, really feminine energy in general. They are attracted, or females in general, they are attracted to dangerous men, and they call it by the dark triad. They are
Oh yes.
attracted to tendencies as psychopathy, Machiavellianism,
I think it's
and
narcissism.
narcissistic. Yeah, yeah. So these three tendencies, or three let's say traits, it's all dangerous. It's all dangerous. Why? I will go like a little bit deep down here, because most of female, they like to feel safe. They
Yes.
need to feel safe, because
Yes.
women in general are insecure about the world in general, because they are weak, biologically weak. You hear like all day, all night, women's complaining about, I do not feel safe in the street. I do not feel safe here or there. Like they have that fear. So the men who can be dangerous and like who can be feared, provide them with these fundamental, on instinct level, security. That's why they are attracted to dangerous men. Don't you think so? So.
Oh, absolutely. So something that when I talk about this, it strikes up a lot of controversy. Like you absolutely hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, is this Disney concept of the prince. And every girl wants to be or most girls want to be a princess, and they want to marry a prince. Okay, but what's the underlying foundation of a prince 800 years ago in medieval Europe or medieval Middle East or medieval China? Well, if you're a baron, a duke, a prince, or whatever that
The
title was,
warrior.
yeah, how did you get to have the castle, to have the land, to have the gold? Well, you didn't do it by being peaceful and kind. You were violent and brutal and Machiavellian and nasty. So when we think of
Mhm.
princes, we don't understand the underlying psychology of what makes a baron, duke, or prince successful in those terms, and that is a brutally violent person that's Machiavellian. And
Mm.
that's what Disney doesn't want you to tell your daughters about the nature of being a prince. So yeah, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, yeah. The browsing history says it all, as Jordan Peterson explained it. Like they
Oh,
look for werewolf, pirates, and criminals.
vampires,
Like
vampires, pirates, and surgeons.
yeah,
Yes. Yep.
yeah, yeah. Like Ted Bundy, he was a psychopathic serial killer of only women, and he received like hundreds of mails from females showing admiration and love and being attracted to him. It was
Oh goodness.
psychopathic, like maniac.
My
Ted
goodness.
Bundy, like he's very famous serial killer in the
Oh,
U.S. history.
yes. God,
So yeah, that
so
says it all.
that there is a phrase, and it's very difficult to pronounce. It's like hyperbistobrelia. It's a psychological term that talks about the fascination with essentially violence and an attraction to violence.
Hybristophilia.
That's the word. Yes, you know the word. Yes, I think
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Yes. So that's very interesting. And I think you and I would also be very familiar with 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I've never read the book. I have no desire to, but I understand the concept. And that was one of the top selling books
50
on.
million copy.
Yes. And what does that tell? And 96% of the demographic is women. So what does this tell you about, the underlying nature of certain desires? Well, perhaps it's not sugar and spice and everything nice. Perhaps there is a darker element in the psychological literature. Once again, when you talked about the dark triad, well, maybe there's a manifestation of that in the market in the form of 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah,
That's
and that's very that's very important to concentrate on here and to focus a little bit on, because I always like say in Arabic, in the Arabic world, like I'm pretty big on the Arabic manosphere here in the Middle East, and when I always say like this quote, everybody going crazy.
Mhm.
I says, mother can't make a child a man. Only men can do it. And everybody going crazy, crazy. Because we are proud of our moms here in our culture. We love our moms a lot. But when with the minute that I say men can, like women cannot make a man a man, everybody going crazy. So you cannot adopt masculinity from a female, because she's not biologically engineered to provide that. She's not designed, evolved, whatever you believe. She's not. She does not have the capabilities. She can be nurturing, she can be merciful, she can be so emotional supporting, she can take care of a child, but she never ever can make him a man. Don't you think so?
Oh gosh, yes. So before I answer, I'm surprised. Like even in the Arabic culture, you can't talk about these kind of things. So you were saying like
It is not because of wokeness. It's not because of wokeness, because of like how much pride and love we have to our mothers. Mother
okay,
is a sacred thing in the Arabic world. Like we
so
love motherhood and mothers in general.
but even if you say that, hey, a woman may not be the best teacher for a young man to be a man, you receive lots of pushback. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's emotional reaction.
Gosh.
It's not woke. It's not because of wokeism. No.
So same result, different reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you know, okay, so to answer the question, so I kind of come at this from a medical perspective and a scientific perspective because I
Mm,
read the literature, and so if I'm interpreting the psychological literature correctly, the developmental psychological literature, as I understand it, and of course, I hate having to say this, it's YouTube, right? So we always say here there are exceptions. Of course, there are exceptions. I'm talking about the bell curve
yeah.
and most
The
generalized. Okay,
majority.
so
Yeah.
yes. Okay. So for all you, the all police that are out there, all right, I'm not saying all. There are exceptions, but in general, the way I interpret the psychological literature is that the female has the most profound importance and impact in ages 0 to approximately 7. Because about age 7, according to anthropology, the child, and we're talking like 50,000 BC and prior, the child at about age
Mm,
7 has learned enough. It knows where the water sources are and roughly what animals to avoid and what poisonous berries to avoid. It can kind of survive on its own, and not against a predator or an enemy tribe, but it can feed itself. It can get something to drink, and it knows
mm,
how to maneuver through the tribe. Okay, well,
mm.
so the mother's role is roughly ended there because the nurturing and the encouragement and the huggies and the kissies and all that is not needed anymore. Now, what is needed is,
Yeah.
hey, young man, come here. This is a spear. There's the predator. There's the prey. we need to teach you how to hunt and to survive. And you can't do that by coddling and being overly encouraging, because you're going to break bones, you're going to get infections, you're going to be tired, hungry, miserable. And so that's where the father comes in after about the age 7. So I think not only does our psychological literature say that, but I think it also makes sense from an evolutionary psychological.
Let me stop you. Yeah, let me stop you here for just 1 second. Do you know that the woman in Islam, the woman, that's the major thought. The woman in Islam can have the custody of the male child until 7, and she have to leave him.
No, I did not know that. My goodness.
Yeah, yeah. After
Well,
7, like he should be with his father.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's what the literature indicates. Roughly that age. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And like so and all these rites of passage, they're all gone now.
Mm.
And the military, even in my early time, they had the pugil sticks that looks like that giant stick with the two giant cotton balls on the end, and you could get into a confrontation and kind of prove yourself. I mean, and way before that, you could get into the boxing ring if you had a difficulty and a challenge with another soldier or Marine or whatever. Well, all that stuff is now gone, and there are no rites of passage. And um, in my estimation, that's removing those masculine versions of conflict resolution does not improve the psychological health of males, of men. Because what we're doing is, and I'm not talking about like violence where you're going to put people in the hospital, but with a referee putting on some headgear, some gloves. And look, if you're going to have two young men that want to work things out in a controlled fashion through masculine conflict resolution styles, which are different than feminine conflict resolution styles, but all that stuff is gone. Does it exist in the Arabic world?
But the fighting, like teaching children to
Well,
fight.
yeah, like if two men, say at university, wanted
Mm.
had a conflict, could they
Mm.
request like a referee, and then the two men come together in like an arena or something that's a controlled physical way of conflict resolution as opposed to just conversation?
Yeah, we have some leagues for professional fights, but regular people cannot do it. So we do it in the old way in the streets, like break each other bones. So, but that's very exceptional. It's not familiar. It's not the majority of people. Okay, Miles here says, why is the age of 7? Like from Islamic point of view, it is because the male child, no, the female can be until hit the puberty with the mother, like until 9, 10, 12, because she need the feminine energy more than the child. But the male child is until 7, because we say in Arabic, هو طفل مميز. He can recognize rights and wrongs at this age. He can start like to differentiate what is good and bad. He understand. So, and he does not need, as Tom was saying, he does not need the intensive care as like 2 years old from his mother, and the cuddling and like to prepare him everything to protect him. No, he have to face the world. So he have to look. The relationship with his mother does not end here, but it is the custody will be transferred to his father, and he can like visit his mother. So it is like 7 years with his mother, and then he have to transfer to his father dad if they are separated. So he can still visit his mom, spend time with her, but the majority of his time should be with mans, with man. So that's how the scholars is justifying. I know that you're non-religious, Tom, but I bet that's a little bit shocking. It's 7 years, as you mentioned.
Well, and I think, as Ali has mentioned, I'm not a very religious man, but I find that there is excellent messages and lessons and philosophy in religious
Hmm.
teachings. And often, like there's speculation. Maybe it's solidly proven, but there's speculation, like in the Abrahamic religions about some of the things about uh, don't eat this and don't eat that. Well, there was, I mean, now that we understand medicine, there's reasons for that because those things hosted parasites
Mm.
and all kind of nastiness. And there was something about, I forget, the wheat or something. And basically, if you left the wheat, it would have this fungus develop. And so anyway, they're religious messages, but they
Mm.
have a foundation we would learn for 1,000 years in science.
Functioning.
Yeah, and so this 7 year functioning of the female presence of the feminine energy in the child's life sounds like, in the Arabic community, it's founded in developmental psychology that we understand. And like we were talking earlier, it's the evolutionary, the evo-bio, the evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology. I think it's rooted in that as well. So yeah,
Mm.
it's very, very interesting. So hey, Miles, how are you? I saw you pop up there. Good to see you, Miles. Just kind of building on that age 7, if Miles, if you weren't in for the first part of the podcast, basically, I come at it from the medical literature perspective, and as I understand it, about age 7, the child, we're talking like 50,000 BC and prior, 10,000 BC and prior, that child at about age 7 can recognize threats and danger and where to find water and where to get food and basically take care of itself. So the mother can kind of retract some of her energy, and then the masculine comes in and teaches the child how to fight and hunt and protect and defend.
Yeah, yeah. There is a complex that we always talk about in the manosphere regarding wifing a single mom, which is like usually in modern day time, you will have all the responsibility with zero authority or little bit of authority, because it's always like the main reference here that you can discipline the child is the mom's emotion.
Mhm.
You're so harsh on them. You're not his dad, or like he's shouting at you. You're not my dad. You can't do this. But you have to provide for him. And if you develop that father son relationship with that child, like you still have no legal rights around him. And if she left, he will leave too. So it will be like double shot in the head. So that will be so harsh. And so most of men do not prefer to take responsibility without authority. And I advocate that. Never ever take any responsibility without the authority needed to be responsible. So, can you elaborate on that? Like, did your mom conflict with your stepdad? Like, don't do that, don't teach, or like, did you had any conflicts in such?
Um, yeah, I have a couple of stories. So when I
Mm,
enlisted in the Navy, so I was in my senior year of college studying
mm,
physics, and so doing all this crazy math and this stuff, and I just decided, look, I'm not going to do this. I'm gonna quit college my senior year, my last semester, and enlist in the Navy as a young E3, which I think that you make about $14,000 a year back in 1994, right?
mm,
So,
mm,
and I will not forget, this is the difference between the masculine and the feminine energy. When the
mm,
recruiter come to pick me up, and my mom was losing her mind, and she basically said, oh my goodness, he's going to ruin his life. What is he doing? He's not going to get his degree. He's going to be an enlisted guy and God knows where, doing what, and in danger. So and she's just very, very upset, and lots of tears, and very upset that I quit college. And my father listens, and I forget how I even heard this conversation. I think I was in the other room or something, but I remember my dad listened to her, and when she was done, he just said, "Tina, leave him be. If he screws up his life, he'll figure it out." And that was the masculine role. Short, sweet. Look, let him figure it out. If he makes mistakes, you got to let him make mistakes. So a philosophy that I can build on with that is something I picked up from Gunnery Sergeant Torres, and that is, good leaders let their people fail. Now, they don't leave them in failure. They kind of wait in the
mm,
wings, and then no. I always put a caveat. This is not like with ordnance and demolition and surgical procedures. You don't let somebody make a catastrophic failure. But if they're going to mess something
mm,
up, you can kind of let them mess up. Like my father was willing to let me potentially mess up my life. Now, it turned out to be a wonderful thing, but he was willing to say, hey, look, let him figure out his own life. And if that's through pain and suffering, it'll make him stronger. where I think the more not the appropriate, but the more feminine approach would be, let me protect him from all discomfort, and that makes, I think, for weak people.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we call. By the way, I'm a fan of the psychological literature. Like I spent maybe half of year reading the psychological literature. That what the psychologist called the hovering mom, or the
Helicopter.
overprotective behavior, which is feminine behavior, which is she tried to protect her son from all potential risks,
Hmm.
and that can save him from some dangerous, but to let's say to face such dangerous situation, it's needed to prepare you to be a strong, to have strength as an individual in life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't always being protective of him and do not let him this that or just another thing. So you need to let him test things by himself and let him get fail, as for
Mhm.
example
Yeah.
Pablo Escobar in his biography, like the I saw how he got raised. He was raised by a single mom, but she's totally different than like the single moms those days. When he used to fall, he used to cry when he was very young. And
Hmm.
like the usual mom behavior is, oh no, like she will tap him, she will give him emotional support. His mom was, why do you fucking cry? Like just yeah, why do you fucking cry? Just raise up, like continue playing, never ever cry. And when you fall, you have to stand up again. I don't need you to cry in your life, no. So she was trying to play the masculine role because his father is not there, and he became a very powerful man. We're not advocating for illegal drug, let's say. Yeah, we're not advocating for that, but like he
Well,
have an economy more than most of the countries right now. Like he was getting 60 million per week.
right,
So
right. Jeff Bezos would blush. Uh, so, another quick story. So I was in Dubai a number of years ago, and I was at the mall in the little food area, and there
I
was
used to
this.
live there, by the way.
Oh, really? Oh God, it's such a
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful city. Oh my goodness. And like the
yeah.
Burj Khalifa, like I'm standing
Mhm.
under it looking up, and like the clouds are just kissing the top of the spire, and it's it's swaying a little bit. And now I'm touching this thing and I'm looking at it. I know it's real, but I'm like, it looks photoshopped. It's just such an amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was there at the food court in the mall, and there was a family, and I would say maybe a 3-year-old was running and tripped and fell and smacked the knee, and I think kind of bonked the head off the ground. And both the mother and the father just looked over, did not go over there, and guess what? The baby was fine, and the baby got up and it kind of did this little thing, and it was just fine. Now, I can contrast that with how most westernized American parents would do things. There would be this flurry of attention and activity. Oh, let me go over there. Let me pick you up. Oh, let me kiss the boo boo. Are you okay? No, leave the child alone. Is it injured? Is it something critical going on? No, then let it be, because you're going to teach it to seek an external authority figure to come in and remove any and all discomfort. Because if you start that when they're young, when they become adults, now you get, in my opinion, you get these younger folks that are out of touch with reality, and they look for administrators, police officers, politicians, any authority figure to come in and remove any and all physical, psychological, or emotional discomfort because they had way too involved parents. That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I just remembered a small story that Coach Red Pill Gonzalo Liera. This man have a great impact on me in the beginning, like in the beginning around 5, 6 years ago, when I just entered the manosphere. before
Hmm.
even I start to create content.
Hmm.
So he got around 3 years old, 3 years old kid, 3 years old kid, and his wife used to put the cookies in the upper cabinet in the kitchen, so for him not to not to reach it.
Hmm.
And he used to cry, like to cry for his dad. I need cookies, I need cookies, I need cookies. So he told him, it is there, can't you get it? He says, no, it is like very high. Okay, so he taught him how to open one of the drawers and to
Mm.
step on it, and then to jump up and to open the upper cabinet and to take it. And every time he used to do that, his mom his mom was shouting and his dad was laughing. Like he figured it out by himself, he do it by himself, he's not asking anyone anymore. So
Yeah.
that's the difference between how the dad do it and how the
Hmm.
mom do it. There is an advice, I believe, from Dr. Peterson. Again, we have a
Hmm.
lot of respect for this man. He says,
Yes.
never do your child something he can do it himself,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
very important.
Yeah, and the same is true in like medicine for like in nursing homes for geriatric patients, because you might want to here's a person that's got some disability or some physical challenge, and so you like say you're going to button some buttons, and you can see they have a tremor, and you just want to help them. You
Mm,
No, you're actually not doing them the most good if
mm,
you do it for them. So yeah, it's true, I think, in all walks of life. Now, building on that concept that you were mentioning, hey, let the child do it itself. Let the child figure out how to get the cookies. So I don't know
mm,
if this is confirmed fact. Sounds pretty solid, but I always like to preface
mm,
things when I don't know for sure if things are in the psychological literature. Okay, so here's the concept I remember someone telling me. It's like, look, evolutionarily, almost certainly, we evolved brains to extract actual pleasure, like dopamine pleasure in our brains
mm,
from hard work and accomplishment. Because if,
mm,
and the theory goes, if you had a brain that didn't extract actual pleasure out of a hard day's work and accomplishing something, you probably would be lazy, and the tribe would not want to take care of you, and you probably wouldn't be able to find a mate. And so those genes would get bred out of existence. So there's good reason to believe that we evolved brains to actually extract pleasure. And then if you can compound that with finding out what you really love, you get not just pleasure, you get a sense of purpose out of excellence and effort and drive and focus throughout the day, every day in, day out. And I think what has happened in our modern culture, because of convenience and many other things, I think you and I could have another conversation about, we have removed that instinct, that impulse, especially from young men,
mm.
to want to go out there and suffer through the sweat and the grind and the pain of getting through a day to come to the end of that day with a sense of accomplishment. And then we just say, oh, no, no, we don't want you to have any discomfort. And I think that that's ruining young men.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was like 10 years old, maybe. That was in the early 90s or in the middle of 90s. So there is no really like internet, there's no social media, there's no gaming, there's no smartphones, there's no all of these distractions when I was a kid. And like I needed my father owned business before I get born. He owned like multiple factories.
Wow.
So like yeah, so when I was young, like I was craving to get a bike. Like there's a bike I wanted very bad, and I keep nagging like for my father on my father's head, like for a week. Like I need this money to buy this bike. I need this bike. I need this bike. Blah blah blah. Told me, okay, tomorrow morning you will come with me to the factory. That's it. What? Like I was thinking in my head, I was thinking like, what an asshole! Like, just grab the money from your pocket and give it to me. Like, why you want to torture me? Like to give me the money? Why are you doing that? But nowadays, I do understand why he did that. It is very simple, like to grab the money, take the money, just don't fuck my head. Like, go.
Yeah.
But he told me, you will come to me to the factory. It was like. It was in an off study season,
Mhm.
off study like month.
Mhm.
So he took me with him to the factory, and he told me to clean the floors. Like I'm not let's say a worker,
Mhm.
and I'm not at worker level. I'm not
Yeah.
at supervisor or any level. I'm from down the bottom. I'm cleaning the garbage, you know.
Oh
Told me
yes.
like just do it, yeah, do it until it's clean. And every day, like he took me for 1 week to work every day, like 3 4 hours, like until my hands start to hurt me really,
Mhm.
and like start to get some scratches and like some blood. And I was like, what an asshole! Why he's doing this? And in the end of the week, in the weekend, he grabbed he grabbed the money and told me, take it, and now you can buy your bike. You know, like I love this bike more than all cars that I ever owned in my life. I took care of that bike, you know, like I was washing it every day, like just putting everything, taking care of it, making the maintenance, like keep it clean, safe in a closed place. And I really appreciate that bike. Why? Because he was teaching me that there is no free lunch.
Yeah.
There's no free lunch in this life. You have to do some stuff to get what you want. You can't just ask for it. That's the main point that he was teaching me.
And that, I think that that message is getting erased, you know, as single motherhood and continues to increase. And I'm sure you're familiar with the statistics as well. Now, for all you YouTubers out there, all police again, I don't know the exact numbers. It's roughly 80% for like these 4 or 5 metrics. But if you grow up in a single mother home, you have roughly an 80% chance of dropping out of high school, roughly an 80% chance of being a teen pregnancy, becoming a criminal, a felon, or remaining in poverty. So we know that's the case. All right. So now those are provable metrics. I think that's on the Uniform Crime Report from the FBI. I think they list those. But to more to your point, uh, that without the father figure teaching discipline, focus, delayed gratification, effort, you don't extract, as we were talking earlier, the pleasure out of the reward of the effort.
Mm,
Once you complete the sweeping or the task or whatever it is, like for me personally, you know, I mentioned the last video with Ali, like I really don't like manual labor. As I get older, I'm becoming more okay with it. But I did a little bit of underwater welding. Now I sucked at it. You wouldn't
mm,
want anything like really critical welded by me, but I could do a little bit of
mm,
welding and grinding and underwater stuff as a Navy diver. Did lots of stuff with heavy machinery. That's hard work, which is why I was
yeah.
so thankful that the Army picked me up and sent me to PA school. To now I practice medicine, because while I can do that type of work, what I like to do is hire people who are actually good at it and want to do it, and that
Mm,
way we both win. I have a job where I
mm,
get to earn money, and I get to hire people that want to do that stuff, and that makes the market go. But all of that, my position and the ability to hire, that came from foundational philosophies of put in the time, put in the work, put in the effort, make your dent in the universe, and extract
mm,
the pleasure out of the accomplishment. But that
mm.
message, Kareem, I think is nearly lost.
Yeah, yeah, I do totally agree. And most of it, by the way, because of the level of stubborn that the modern woman have.
Gosh.
I can do both. I can be both parent. No, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. You just can't. He need a masculine figure in your life. You need a masculine figure in your life. You can't do everything by yourself. So that's very important. But in modern day times, let's say the roles are demolished, and it became so liquid. So there is no like real roles like after all. Okay.
Well, if
Okay.
I'm add something to your point right there, it
Yeah.
it it's it even forgetting about, like, say, the psychologic capacities of the masculine and feminine, and the need for the masculine in the child's life. I mean, let's just talk pragmatics. Just the time.
Hmm.
You as a single parent aren't even going to have the time to fill both roles, let alone the
Hmm.
instinctual psychologic presence. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, yeah. It is not practical at all to try to play both roles. Yeah, it is not. And by the way, like around 80% of 80% of working moms thinking they do not prefer to work. They prefer to stay at home. Moms, I'm talking about
Mm,
moms. Why? Because they can't do both.
mm.
So imagine a working single mom. That's like near impossible to do everything right in the child life. And by the way, 75% of the underage prisoners are from single mother households. 75% of them, three-quarter of them, and
Yeah.
like the rest 25 is mixed between the two parents household and single dad.
Mhm.
So yeah, 20 times is the probability of dropping out of school is 20 times, and eight times more for teen pregnancies.
Right, right. And nobody will talk about that because it goes against the feminine paradigm that women are sugar and spice
Hmm.
and can do nothing wrong and are all angelic. Well, you know, there are challenges when you remove the masculine energy and the masculine psychology from the home, and we're seeing it manifest. And if now, Kareem, maybe you know the actual number, but like as I understand it, like about 80% of the people that end up doing shootings come from single mother homes as well. I'm pretty sure that that's roughly accurate. Do
The
you
mass
know?
shooters is
Yes.
more than it's more than 90%.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was something very high like that. And, you know,
Yeah.
I mentioned this statistic to a female colleague of mine a few years ago. Very, very educated, very a powerful, high level leader. And we were just have because we had many great conversations. And no, I just figured I'd bring up this statistic. And it was like a switch got flipped in her brain, and she became aggressive like a rabid terrier, and like, no, that's it, nope, nope. And I was just like, wait a minute, where did your logical rational mind go just bringing up that statistic that paints women in a negative light? Yeah, and I have had so many conversations, I mean, and a bunch of wake up calls, especially since Allie's, viral success, just trying to be sharing her success with colleagues. The and the maybe vitriol is too strong of a word, but negativity, just because of her message, because she calls women out and makes them accountable, and other women really dislike that.
Yeah, it is the forbidden message these days. You can't
Yes.
hold women accountable.
Well,
Yeah.
I heard Rollo once say something like, how do you say it? He says, "It's society will," and I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like, "Society will not permit any message that interferes with the female mating strategy, and whatever they want. If you interfere with that, society will strike you down." And that means painting any
Yeah,
negative message. Yep, anything that interferes with their mating
yeah.
strategy.
I'll tell you the essential reason for that.
Mm.
Women spend globally $31.8 trillion directly or indirectly. So if they did not spend it directly, they affect the decision of spending it. So
Oh,
directly
good.
or indirectly, $31.8 trillion, and that's 80%. In the United States, it's 85% of the consumer decision. In
Yeah.
globally, it's 80%. So you can't make 80% of the consumers feel bad. That's forbidden.
Yeah, yes. So I wish I could remember the journal. It was some kind of economics journal. I want to say the Enterprise Institute, but I really don't remember. Anyway, it was a very nicely written article about exactly to what you just referred, and just the
In
professionalism.
Bloomberg, I remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, but what I remember is the last couple of sentences because he used all the fancy language, all the scientific stuff, the
Mm,
data, the mathematics, and he was talking about this consumer thing. And basically, at the last
mm,
couple of sentences, I almost have it memorized. He said, "Do not take it personally, boys. It's just business." Meaning, what he summed up his page and a half, 2-page article with all the data. Look, it doesn't matter what you think. They're not going to change the family court laws. They're not going to change any of this system that transfers wealth and money and resources from men to women because it's just business, boys. They spend the money. They're not going to do it. They're not going to
yeah,
change
yeah,
it. And it's just business.
yes, yes. Such as the big capitalist, like big pharma, especially, like they have personal interest, like they have interest in the remaining of the fetuses. You know that, like they use it in manufacturing good makeup. They use it for vaccines. They use it for researches. They like it is, and it is for free from the parenthood, Planned Parenthood. It is for free, like the fetus remains. So they need to support support feminists in general with my body, my choice. They don't believe in this shit. It's just money for them. Like they do not like women or they care about women. Like this decision make me more money or save me more money.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm supporting it. It's not because I love women as a creature. I care about women. No, they don't. They do not give a slightly fuck about women. It's just like just pure business. As you said, don't take it personal, boys. It's just business.
Yeah. And on that note, like, are you familiar with CRISPR technology, the DNA sequencing software? So CRISPR
Little
is
bit.
many uses, but one of the things that it makes MABs, monoclonal antibodies, and they're going to be able to do a lot of other stuff. So what I'm hoping is, what you were talking about. CRISPR will be able to use stem cells to manufacture stuff, so we don't have to rely on. I'm going to be careful with YouTube language. So we say live or semi-live tissues. We can
Mm,
utilize CRISPR and stem cells to just
mm.
manufacture it synthetically.
Yeah, they are doing another thing in China. They are manufacturing an artificial wombs, and it
Yes,
studies
yes, I
on
saw
animal
that.
level.
Yes, yes, I
It's
saw that.
like it's succeeded on animal level. Like they like the next stage will be to trying it on human fetuses.
Oh
So
goodness.
an artificial womb, yeah, that will be a big hit, by the way, for modern women in general, because now we have artificial intelligence, sex dolls, and artificial wombs. So give me a single fucking reason to wife a woman. So, uh,
I don't know who said this, but they basically said, look, if there was a third gender, a third species, I got to avoid careful with that gender stuff, right? So I'm
yeah.
just going to go with traditional. We have a male and female. What if there for chromosomal stuff? What if there was a third one where that particular creature, its entire function was just to birth offspring, right? Okay, so
Hmm.
that third gender, it's a fantasy, it's a hypothetical, but that third gender is strictly for the sexual act and reproduction. Okay, so I forget, I wish I could remember who said this. Now bring
Mhm.
women into the picture. You have another gender who the total focus is just sexual pleasure and reproduction. So they pose the question
Hmm.
during their podcast. Okay, now bring in modern women. How many men, if they're getting their sexual needs and reproductive needs met by that third gender, would voluntarily spend a lot of money and time with modern women? And I was like, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, you will demolish the whole industry of pornography, of everything that women use their sexual leverage to get money will be demolished by this third gender, by the way. So yeah, you have no power over no one after this.
Oh,
And like this is gonna be a huge jump, like with especially with the artificial wombs.
Yeah. And I
because
thought,
they are facing low fertility rates in China. They are facing this problem. Women is not getting married anymore. They're not having any babies. They remove the one child policy. They make it two child, and the last year they make it three child policy, and the fertility rate is still dropping.
oh
So
gosh.
they need the yeah they need solution. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I was wondering, because we're talking about the artificial womb and the AI and the dolls. Maybe we could do a segue with a little bit of time we have left to talk about what would be the masculine role with sons, I guess, and daughters for that matter, if we lived,
Yeah.
100 years from now, where you have artificial intelligence inside these robots that can perform the function of sexual gratification, sexual satisfaction, like what would we how would we as men, what do we teach our sons then? Like, because okay, we generally teach women throughout the years, mistakenly we call it chivalry. No, chivalry was a code amongst warriors in combat,
Mm.
single combat, men to men. Everybody's like, oh, chivalry is
Yeah.
about treating women. No, it's not. It's about how men treated men inside combat because we were brutal, and that was kind of rules.
Mm.
But we're still taught this idea of how to treat women, from courtly love. What I'm wondering, Kareem, maybe we could chat about it, is like, what would be the masculine role 100 years, 250 years from now, when you have AI and you have robots that can perform these other functions? What would we teach our young sons how to treat women? Would we teach them anything different? I'm just curious.
No, it will be more beneficial to teach them how to treat robots. So it will be more concentrated on the intellectual side, not the physical side.
Mm,
You will be teaching them to develop their intellectual capabilities, because it will be there is no place for dumb people or low IQ people in the society. Like, the
mm,
society does not need them. Does not need even 200 years from now. They do not need manual labor at all. So if you do not have intellectual capabilities, high
mm.
IQ, you're not needed in the society. You will be a fucking failure. So it will be redirect from like the competitive, like, let's say, the physical abilities and such stuff to intellectual capabilities, because you can't be dumb after 100 year. You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe it was China, maybe South Korea, Japan, I can't remember who, but they've got these roughly rudimentary functioning exoskeletons that you can put on that have electrical powered servo motors that increase your power and strength by fivefold, tenfold. So I mean, that's coming. Then you have AI robots. It's going to be an interesting time, and I'm just wondering, like, because young men are waking up with the MGTOW movements and the red pill movement, like they are waking up to, hey, look, women can make mistakes, women can be shallow, women can be awful. We do not have to give them respect by default. They have to earn respect just like everyone else. Some
Hmm.
young men are waking up. And I'm just curious how it's going to go in the future. So,
Yeah, it's
did
gonna
you have
be
any final
more
questions?
tough and tough.
I do have another obligation in about 7 to 10 minutes. So did you have any other final questions you'd like to ask?
Yeah. The last part. Who teach you how to deal with women, like to get a great woman finally,
Oh,
such
gotcha.
as Ali?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sad. It's a sad story. No one. I went through a red pill rage of probably a good solid 18 months. So yeah, I ran across all the red pill stuff. You know, um,
Hmm.
Paul Elam, Rich Cooper, Rollo Tomasi, Donovan Sharp, you just name a few, Terrence Pop, just to name a few. And so anyway, and then I realized that now, and I don't mean this with any maliciousness. Nobody maliciously, deceitfully lied to me. They just passed
Hmm.
along the narrative that women are sugar and spice
Yeah.
and everything nice and are angelic and can do no wrong. And you always take, well, once I realized I'd been lied to, then I went through that red
The
pill rage.
wonderful woman effect, huh?
Yeah, right. And so I can't give credit to any one person, but rather the community. The community woke me up, and I felt like Neo on the Nebuchadnezzar, and I'm like, hey, why can't I see anything? Why don't my eyes work? And then Morpheus responds roughly, because you've never used them. And then he opens his eyes, and what does he do? He vomits all over the deck plate because he's like, oh my god, this is a miserable, horrible place, and I've been lied to, and his nervous system is overwhelmed. So I mean, that's the metaphor out of the red pill. But yeah, the community, the community, Kareem. And then I don't think Ali and I's relationship would work nearly as well if I weren't solidly in my masculine, and then her and her feminine. Because what we found is those two energies actually work better together. And some of Ali's
Yeah,
other videos, she mentioned, she's absolutely correct. They actually made me a plaque that said, "Where is my physicist triathlete?" Like, I thought I wanted this ball busting, masculine, educated, driven woman. I didn't even know that I wanted a feminine, cooperative, peaceful woman. And now I know that. And that came out of the red pill.
yeah, yeah. Does that make made a huge difference between, for example, like 10 years ago, how you used to deal with women, and now?
Oh gosh, yes. Now, I think instinctually, like even when I was, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, I had some red pill instincts, but they always got
Hmm.
overridden by societal and
The
what
dots is not connected.
right. And when I was in the church, I was in the church for a long time. Even the messages I got there were, hey, you always treat women with respect and dignity and defer. And so, gosh, 10 years ago, yeah, without question and without exaggerating, I was a blue pilled beta simp for sure. And I didn't even know it because I thought it was the right way to go about it.
Takes a lot of balls for men to say that.
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, I'll be laying in bed sometimes, and my mind will start drifting, and I'll remember some of the ways that I treated women and some of the awful. It still generates an internal, visceral, emotional cringe. I'm like, oh, I behaved that way. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it was that awful. How about you?
One of the great, yeah. Well, one of the great philosophers says only wise men feel contempt with his previous self.
oh,
So
really? Who
if
said that?
you
That's really
if you
interesting.
yeah, if you recheck your past and feel and felt that oh God, like I was horrible, that means like you got the wiseness to reevaluate your past, so you developed as a human being. For me, we are. I'm from a Middle Eastern conservative country. It is a masculine environment already,
Mhm.
but and I got a lot of dots as you were saying, but you never understand why, and I felt myself that I'm a stranger of this new narrative,
Mhm.
like the
Same.
simp narrative, the gynocentric narrative. And one of my friend passed me a video of Coach Red Pill, which is Gonzalo Liera.
Mhm.
He's stuck in Ukraine right now. So he said, "Me, like, just listen to this man." And I watched him. That was around 7 years, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I said, "No, that man make like a lot of sense. Like
Mhm.
that's interesting. Let me check other of his content." And then I started to read, watch the documentaries. Then I just took a deep down dive in the psychological literature, the evolutionary biology, the evolution of desire, and the rest of it. The game, Neil Strauss, and like then get in the ocean of this information. My first friend was Richard Cooper. I sent him a
Oh
message.
yeah.
He told me, if if you want me to be in your channel, just let me know. I said, like, are you serious? He says, yes. Okay, so I got the first. He was the first figure of the manosphere to be in my channel since the very beginning. I have very small channel, like with less than 2,000 subscriber. It was really very low. Then yeah, Yeah, started to get bigger and bigger. I got a certificate from two certificates from Oxford University. It was a courses
Wow.
about life coaching and consultation business in general. And I'm,
Hmm.
I'm doing consultation and coaching for men, vast majority men, like small
Hmm.
minority of women, small percentage of women since like 3 4 years right now. Yeah,
Excellent. Excellent. Gosh. Well, hey, I have to get running, but it's been a great
yeah,
conversation. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
yeah. You're most welcome. Tell people where they can find you.
Well, I don't have an online presence. I've been
Oh,
on Red Pill or RP Thor's channel, the Dragon Ship, Ali's channel. But yeah, I don't really have an online presence. That's why
do
I'm
you
just,
have something in plan for the future? Maybe after you retire.
yeah, after I retire, yeah, I think basically I'm going to do just, hey, look, young men, give me a call, write in your questions, and I'll bring to bear my masculinity, my military, and my medical training, and an attempt to answer questions and kind of encourage and direct young men that might be floundering and feel lost. That's my general idea.
Yeah. Well, saying this was great. That was a great podcast. Thank you, Tom, like for your time, and I hope like we can collaborate again.
Okay.
Thank you very much, guys, for watching this, and thank you, Tom, again.
Hey, have a great evening. Bye bye.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.